sacrifice. Weaponize the office, choking Lassie out. Say you still resisting while you passing out. Death toll keep on rising, what's the right amount? What's the right report? What's the right he got? What's the right procedure for the people fighting back? All injustice lead to hatred and rebellion. The hell they get ain't even close enough to where the devil at. Saying they in danger when the danger where they present at. White be fearing I ain't coming home with my license checked. And that's a problem, cause when I'm a target, I may never see tomorrow, even if I'm sorry. Mask on, mask off, it's hard to breathe out here. Can't even see how they say it's free out here. On camera, they be out here killing me out here. Hey, move the knee, it's hard to breathe out here. Mask on, mask off, it's hard to breathe out here. Can't even see how they say it's free out here. On camera, they be out here killing me out here. Hey, move the knee, it's hard to breathe out here. Hey, say they name, say they name. Say they name, say they name, say they name, say they name. Say they name, say they name, say they name, say they name, say they name. Nikes, say they name, say they name, say they name, say they name. Nikes, say they name, say they name, say they name, say they name. Hashtag police brutality matters. Hashtag I'm tired of hearing us dying. Hashtag I don't want to see no more hashtags. Bro, that's so sad. Mic check, 1 2 1 2. I guess we on. Peace. What's going on, everybody? Appreciate everybody for tuning in. Had a couple of difficulties, a couple of issues that happened prior to technical difficulties, but we through all that. We live. You know what I mean? So yeah, I definitely want to thank anybody who is currently watching the stream. Of course, today we're going to go ahead and we're going to be speaking about the Minneapolis rebellion, because we do not want to start calling them riots anymore. At this point, this is a rebellion. This could be also labeled an uprising, but we cannot continue to allow people to label these situations as riots, because riots incur there is no reasoning for the actions. This is the top of the bottle bursting. It is not just it happened because no reason. There is a political movement behind, though it may not be organized, there is a political mindset behind the actions of the people currently. Police brutality and police murders and the murders of certain people in certain demographics has been very prevalent during this lockdown. This is eerily similar to what happened during the Trayvon Martin riots, where we had Ferguson, then we had California, then we had Baltimore. This is eerily similar. I don't want to get into conspiracy theory, but it's very eerily similar. This is the people fighting against the government. Many people don't want to understand that this civil disobedience has a rhyme and reason. People are not just tearing up targets and tearing up police stations and throwing rock at police cars just because. There is a rhyme and reason for this. We cannot continue to say that, oh, they're just being ruly just because. A man was murdered on tape with multiple angles by the government. The police are government officials. The police are government officials. And until we recognize them as government officials,
We will not understand how severe this goes. I also don't want to say that this is just a black and white matter, because it is not. This is not just a black and white matter. We have so many people on the right who run to say that it's a large swath of the white community that are also killed and brutalized by police. Question: why are they not protesting alongside those who are protesting the police brutality and the police murders when it comes to the black community? They should be locked in step with us. We've watched one police officer in Las Vegas play a deadly game of hokey pokey with a man who they said had a gun pointed out in a hotel. He shot him and he was murdered. He was white. We saw that there was a white man who was killed, beaten brutally by the police. He was homeless. He was a white man. We just saw a man who was naked, and I don't know if he was either white or Hispanic, but he was brutal. But they sicked an attack dog on a naked man. We as black people cannot allow this to just be echoed as a black issue. We need allies, as only 12% of the country. We are only 12%. We need allies to make things happen in our own communities. We cannot continue to allow them to make the narrative a black and white thing. This is an American issue. If you don't believe it's an American issue, I implore you to actually look at all of the police videos that have been going up since surveillance and civilian surveillance has become more prevalent, since more people have been filming the police. I just watched the police murder a 60-year-old man right in front of his family in California. This is not a Republican, nor is it a Democratic issue. It is a people's issue. And we have to continue to make it a people's issue. We have to continue to say it's a people's issue. So we're going to go into this, and we're going to actually sit down, and we're going to investigate the things that the police currently are doing to us, the people. Us, the people, because we are the people. This right here is some of the things that is going on. One of the main things that happened that is going on, that they're trying to curve. They're trying to curve and say that the protesters are beating up on people. If you actually watch, and I'm going to show you guys the video, where they said that this woman had a knife and she was out stabbing people. So what did the people do? They protected themselves against someone who was causing mayhem during this volatile situation. Trying to pull up the tweet. It's going to take me a second. Thought it would. I don't know if it's some sound. Let's see if I can get some sound. Oh my God. Love the energy. Yo, WTF. I can't find, and oddly enough, they blocked out the the words where she said, "Man, she's stabbing people." There is a video where it says she's stabbing them. Disabled white woman attacked by a mob of black people. This is a lie. This is a lie. This in this video, you can click, if you can find them. I implore somebody to find the original video. And this is the original caption. She's stabbing people. This is the same woman in the wheelchair, walking around, going back to her wheelchair. I don't know if you can see that, but this is what's going on. People are using this, and like I said, on both sides, to continue a narrative that is against what the actual facts are. This woman is using this situation as a way to start mayhem. And then they had the nerve to have her on the news crying, talking about people were beating her up. George Floyd was murdered by the government. It wasn't just some random guy. It wasn't just some random, excuse me, and I don't know if it's echoing or not, but it wasn't just some random that killed him. This was a government official. When I'm looking as I'm watching this video, I want you to remember the people who originally organized this protest wanted this to be peaceful across the board.
A lot of emotions that's running around right now. Yeah. Guess what? There's nothing wrong with that. Share your emotions. Share your frustrations.
Again, I want you to remember that these people wanted this to be a very peaceful protest. Not only did they want it to be a peaceful protest, but also they were aware that people were coming in from the outside to start trouble. This, if you want to look this up, please screenshot this and please look for it.
First thing I want you to be mindful of is that, one, we got probably over 25 or 30 pastors that's out here. We have elders out here. So guess what? We need to first off watch our mouth. We need to show them a little bit of respect. Second thing is, you're going to have some people that's out.
I don't know why that stopped. I don't know why it stopped. I don't know why it stopped. That's a very important video, and I don't know why it stopped. Computer froze. I told you guys I've been having some difficulties with some technical difficulties with what's going on. I don't know why, but I've been having some technical difficulties as far as streaming. But again, these people were aware of what was going on. They were aware that people were coming in from the outside to try to cause issues on the inside. I do not care how people feel about this situation. What is going on is a rebellion. It is a uprising. It is not just they're destroying the neighborhood. These people are going against the government, and they're going against anything that shows favor to that government, as well as funding that government, they have no other options. We have been since the days of Trayvon Martin, we have been dealing with these things being seen on the internet on a day-to-day basis. Civilian surveillance has been going on for a very long time. We cannot excuse the fact that people have been able to see these things on a day-to-day basis. We cannot ignore the fact that people are able to see these things on a day-to-day basis. We cannot ignore that. We cannot ignore this. We cannot ignore this. This is history. And when you have bad blood and history mixing together, that is when you have these explosions of civil disobedience. They don't want to play games with the police anymore. They're tired of playing with the government. And as a Republican, you should want less government intervention. You should not want the government to overstep their boundaries. And that goes for either side. But specifically for those on the right who want to make this a race issue and race bait about this situation. For God's sakes, the president and Fox News both said that this was a huge issue. And I'm going to go into what Trump said as far as his newest tweet, where he said that these people were thugs. That was the terminology that he used. He said that these people were thugs. But we're going to compare this to what Obama said. Because we cannot be hypocrites about this. We can't say that President Trump is doing anything different than Obama did when that is a complete lie. I have to scroll through my timeline to get this. I apologize to anybody who's waiting. But of course, we're going through some technical difficulties, so I'm going to be working through that. So President Obama, I'm going to go through this. So President Obama, allow ads. I don't know why this thing keeps doing that. Let's refresh that. I don't know why they did that because I had already had it open. But Obama stands by the term thugs, White House says. How is this any different from what Trump said, other than the shooting part? He still called them thugs. He still was behind sending the military to Baltimore. This is no different. This is how they operate on the top. We cannot ignore this. Obama calls Baltimore rioters criminals and thugs. Troops roll into Baltimore as Obama urges U.S. to start soul searching. These are his comments. Again, this is an issue between the government and the people. And I really want to go into this situation here where we're talking about this suspicious man breaking windows in AutoZone. This man, from what they say, is a police officer. This man is a police officer who was seen breaking the windows of the same exact AutoZone that was the same exact AutoZone that was set on fire.
That's why I'm doing this to you guys. I ain't got part of that shit. Dude. Oh, I zoomed in. I'll zoom out a little bit. Those cops will come for you if you're pulling that crap.
These are the protesters who are trying to talk to this.
Looks like, yeah. So as you can see, the AutoZone.
No one knows where this man came from.
I'm gonna fight you right now.
You wanna go? What's up?
He
Somebody
immediately
hold my
wanted.
blood. Hey, somebody hold my blood. I'm gonna give you up. Hey. Are you a fucking cop? What's up?
We know that these things happen. We know that during these times that people are sent from the other side to try to bolster the violence. We know from the other side people try to bolster the violence. Do not think that I am confused about what the police are doing behind the scenes and what the people are doing. Do not think that I am confused about this. I truly understand the difference between what this man is doing and what the people are doing. This is a police officer who is trying to bolster the narrative that people are ultimately just violent for no reason. There's also a picture that is going around where this man had spray painted on the back of the door at the AutoZone that people, and I'm trying to find it, that people are, it said, the message said, free stuff in here. It said free stuff in here. And I need to find that picture. I wasn't prepared for that specific point. But that is exactly what is going on. They are trying to bolster the narrative and take the narrative away so they can hide the fact that they are not going to prosecute these gentlemen. We have the Minneapolis mayor who says the anger over George Floyd's death is not only understandable, it's right. This is coming from NBC News. I'm going to share this with you guys. NBC News says that the Minneapolis mayor says anger over George Floyd's death is not only understandable, it's right. Anger, and this is a quote from him, anger and sadness that has been ingrained in our black community, not just because of 5 minutes of horror, but 400 years, Mayor Jacob Frey said. I would trump him in saying, and that's not a pun, I would trump him in saying that this has more to do with what is going on currently with all of the lockdowns, all of the police oppression from the lockdowns, all of the videos that we've been seeing currently thrown down our throats on social media because things are being surveilled everywhere. This has more to do with that than 400 years of slavery. If that was the case, then before the coronavirus, we would have had more and more demonstrations because there were people still being brutalized during the initial even before the coronavirus. There were people who were being beaten and killed by the police before the coronavirus. This has been a history of things that have been going on, and the history is very recent because this generation is able to see them firsthand. My grandfather said one thing that rings deep in my mind. And he died right before all of the things happened in Ferguson. And he said, because he was a Republican, he said, I can't wait until they start lynching niggas again because you guys don't understand how bad things actually were. This makes me understand exactly what he is talking about or what he was talking about. That may seem harsh to people. That may seem harsh to people. It may seem harsh. But the reality is, in order for us to move the needle on any social situation, we have to be willing to get angry enough to do something. We have to be willing to get angry enough to do something. Everyone wants to say, let's march. Even so, now we got people talking about what's the difference between the people who had the firearms in the government building and the protesters. You want to know what's the difference? Because a regulated militia, it wasn't just people who had firearms that ran in the government building or just started destroying things. The threat was already there. They were there armed to the T, ready to go to war for their rights. There is no difference between the two. These are the rebellions that are going on against the government because the government itself is causing these issues. And again, I'm not making this a right or a left issue because it's not. This will never be just solely a left or right issue, and it will never be solely a left and right issue. This is a people versus the government issue. The government is killing us. When you bring up black on black crime statistics, Republicans, conservatives, you sound like idiots. The narrative of black on black crime is interpersonal crime. Period. It is murder. Period. Do not put a race on it. Period. There is no such thing as white on white, Asian on white, There is no such thing as those types of crime. That is a talking point to criminalize black people. Stop doing it. I haven't heard Officer Tatum. I haven't heard what's the other crazy girl? I haven't heard any of those ABL, none of them talking about the fact that Chicago crime rate has dropped dramatically. They haven't even spoken on that. But that was a talking point not too long ago. But now when we talk about Chicago, they don't have that talking point because the crime rate is actually dropping. The violence rate is actually dropping. I know that because I live in one of the top 10 crime-ridden cities, one of the murder capitals. When I was growing up in Richmond, Virginia, we were a murder capital. When my father was here in Richmond, it was a murder capital. Do not try to bolster these things and say it's black on black crime, and you do not, on the same hand, talk about the reasons for why these things are existing in this community. Ever since Rodney King, we've been dealing with police brutality on tape. This was in the 90s, where we were talking about the Rodney King riots. This is the beginning of people being the officers being surveilled. I want to pull this up. 1992 Los Angeles riots. This was in 1992. This had nothing to do. This has everything to do with the history of what we are seeing today. This was literally in 1992. This was in 1992. And now in 2020, we're still seeing the same exact thing. This is what people are talking about. This is what the people are talking about. When we ignore the fact that this actually happened in 1992, and we're still dealing with the same issue in 2020, you're not understanding why people are tired. This was in and I keep on having to say this, 1992 is not that far away. Was not that far away. But again, police brutality was always touted as a far cry that people ignored. So many people ignored police brutality in the black community when it started to go over into other communities. Now we're starting to see the needle moving. We cannot continue to allow them to tell us, the media, who has a narrative, to tell us that we're just rioting. There's a difference between someone flipping a car because their football team lost the game and the civilians in this country going ape. And you know what? I shouldn't even say that word, because that's a wrong word to use. Because some people will use that as a racially charged term. And Candace Owens, that's who I was talking about before, she used a diatribe like that, and I do not want to use the same type of diatribe. It's not me being PC. It's me understanding the context. It's me understanding the context of what I'm saying. But we cannot be upset because people are actually fighting the system. They're tearing down the system. They were bold enough to burn down a police station. I'm looking for the live stream. And I like this because I want to go through this. I want to go through my thought process with you guys instead of just having everything set up. So that's how we're going to do this. We're going to work through this whole thing together so that people are not missing steps. And if you got a question, please post it. If you got something to say, please post it. I need people to get this information out. I need people to see this information. I have the time to be on the internet all day long. I have the ability to do this all day long. These people were okay with burning down the police station because it met exactly what they needed, exactly what they wanted, as far as taking it out on the government. They're taking it out on corporations. They're taking it out on the government. They're taking it out on the people who benefit from these officers who are not yet still charged. One thing that they're failing to continue to say is these officers were not charged. We cannot do another situation where y'all wait 30 days, 4 different DAs for to come across, and then you decide to charge them. You can't do that again. You cannot do that again. We do not have the time for that. We've all seen every single angle of this situation. We've all seen every single angle.
I don't know nobody on my left.
Hey, John!
Excuse any of the language that's going on. They wanted to burn down this police station. They are tearing up a police station. This is civil disobedience.
Oh,
This is a rebellion that is going on. This is not some simple riot. And we have to get that narrative out here that it's a rebellion, it is a uprising. The same people who claim to love us in the news and want to have our votes and want to push their narratives down our throat like CNN and NBC, and they are still calling it a riot. This is not a riot. This is a rebellion. This is an uprising. They're not just tearing up their neighborhoods. They're tearing up things, they're tearing down the idols that stand for the corruption and the system that allows this to happen, and no one says anything about it. For years, people have been saying that the government doesn't do anything in these situations. The law does not work in our favor. When we're in the street, we're brutalized, and they go make false statements. I'm tired. I can't march anymore. My feet hurt and my fists have more energy. They have to stop lying to the people. Because the more they lie to the people and the people are able to see behind that silver curtain that they posted, that emerald curtain, because we're living in the world of Oz right now. And all of us can now see that the large head that was standing in the midst of the palace is actually a small little man who has nothing. We're coming to we're coming to national voting come November. But President Trump or President Biden or President Obama never changed what was going on the local level. We can't just come around every 4 years and vote. We have to vote every single time. Every single time there's a vote available. Local government is part of the reason why these things happen. The police chief is brought in by the governor, not the president of the United States. Political discourse has to be educated, the political discourse and the education of politics must be learned by everyone in order for these things to not occur again. Because we have to know who's voting, how they're voting, who's putting in what policies actually affect us on the local level, how they actually affect us. This has to be done. I know a lot of people ain't gonna want to hear this message. I know a lot of people don't probably want to listen to my message merely because of what I have been standing for lately. I've been telling people, Obama, if you think Trump is bad, Obama was bad too. I've been being balanced in what I am saying. I want you to know that the government is supposed to be working for us and not the other way around. The government is supposed to be slaves to us and not the other way around. You do not get the opportunity to take my privileges and my rights, my God-given rights, away from me. And then ask for your position again. The same things that were going on in the last 8 years of Obama are still going on regardless of what political party has been standing here. We don't like to talk about the fact that Obama backed the police. He called people thugs as well as criminals. We don't like talking about that because it skews the narrative that our precious God Obama was the greatest thing that happened to black people, yet and still he had not one policy, not one policy that directly affected us in a positive manner. He did more for the LGBT community than he did for the black community. He took more rights away from people in the Hispanic community than Trump did. Fact check me on that one. But again, he's not the president right now. He's not the president right now. But again, we are in an election year. We are in an election year. And we have Joe Biden sitting up here talking about, if you don't vote for me, you ain't black. Yet and still, he was a part of the last administration. We don't need a continuations of multiple Bushes and multiple Clintons and multiple Trumps and multiple Obamas giving us the same exact thing over and over and over and over and over again. It is despicable what the government is doing to the people. But most of the people are too blind to understand that this is a Xerox game. These are family ties. The reason why they don't like Trump is because if anyone knows their history, they will understand the ties that all of the families that came in had with each other. The Obamas and the Clintons. The Clintons and the Bushes. Do your research and see how tied in they are. The only outsider was Trump, and that's why they don't like him, because he doesn't play the same games that they play. Sure, he's very brash in what he speaks, but he's not that educated type of person who came from Harvard and came from Yale and came from these other large corporations that they indoctrinate people through called college. He's not part of that ilk. That's why they don't like him. They cannot control him. But again, I'm not going to cape for him when he's saying stupid crap like they should start shooting at the rioters. I will agree with him that some of the things that have been done are not in the actual spirit of honoring the man who passed away. But then again, this is the government speaking. The people are rioting because, take that back, the people are rebelling. The people are rebelling. This is an uprising merely because the government has been killing us. And again, people want to make this seem as if this is merely a race thing. It's not just a race thing. The clown formerly known as Candace Owens said that this is only black people. It's more white people that get killed by police. Again, like I said in the beginning, why are they not out there? Answer: they are. It's just not black people who are looting these buildings. It's just not black people or people, and I'm not going to use that term people of color. I have to get out of saying people of color, because that's not correct. It's just not African Americans who are rioting and looting. Check this picture out. This is a mix of people. This is the people. These are the people. The narratives that they are continuing to show is merely so that all people can continue to downplay what is going on, because they've been able to downplay the issues that are going on in the black community by saying you all are criminals. So when people, we the people, start fighting back, they're like, oh, it's just black people. It's just the black people. Black people are so violent. Black people can't get it together. They just can't get it together, can they? That's what they say. But as we can see, it is not just black people who are out here looting and destroying property. This is very comparable to the Boston Tea Party. It's civil disobedience. What about Bacon's Rebellion? What about Bacon's Rebellion? What about the entire war that 1776 stands for? The Independence War. Where people actually had to fight for their rights. You know, the Constitution that AOC and everybody else thinks doesn't exist anymore. These people have rights, God-given rights, that should not be taken away. Ever. And the more the government kills us, we the people, the more they're going to give kickback every single time. If you look at it, and again, and I'm going to go back to something. During the Ahmaud Arbery case, which is still going on, but mind you, that's not over. That is far from over. There were black Second Amendment and Black Panther Party and gun rights organizations that came to that neighborhood armed to the teeth, similar to how the men in, I think it was Ohio, guarded the black senator, the black female senator. When we start practicing the rights that they're trying to take away from us, they don't want to fight us. They do not want to fight us. Because they don't want to lose their lives, just like we don't want to lose our lives. That's why the Second Amendment is so important, regardless of your race. The Second Amendment is important, regardless of your race. Because when you have armed citizens who are legally able to have firearms at all time without regulation, and they create militias that can protect the civilians from the government, we go back to where the government is supposed to be. The government, that is the government check. We check the government by using the unmovable rights that we've been given. The Second Amendment is one of the things the Democrats want to destroy. I don't care about how much the Republicans need gun owners to buy more guns, because that leads into their capitalist agendas. We need firearms to protect ourselves from the government. Again, even if we have to vote for the people who we feel like are our enemies, if their politics align with keeping our freedoms, those are the people who should be in office. And I don't care if they're on the red side, the blue side. I don't play games when it comes to people's lives. My children have to grow up in this country. My children will grow up in this country. As a veteran of the United States military, I have been able and afforded the opportunity to see what a third world country looks like. A war-torn country looks like. We aren't there yet. I fought in Iraq 05, 06. Rotation, 4th ID, 316 Field Artillery, HHB. I lost friends. I lost comrades. I did not go overseas and come back with the realization of what I did to be done in vain by the same government who sent us over there. True democracy means the people's voice is first. Not the corporate entities that keep putting money in people's pockets, in politicians' pockets. That's told, it's called now speech. If a corporation gives a politician money, that's called speech. They are now a person. So now they add it to we the people. But we know they are not the people. The people are the individuals who have to live on this soil, see the blood. Do not think that this narrative is just black people are rioting. This is an uprising. This is a rebellion. This is a rebellion. Do not allow them to continue to call us out of our names and say that we're rioting and think that it's just for nothing. God shuns injustice. As a Christian, I am obligated to speak out on injustices and put God anywhere that the darkness is. And God is the truth. There's too much to say about this situation. Tune in. Please subscribe. And this is not for my monetary gain. It's not for my monetary gain. I want to give voice to the people, where the people don't have a voice, especially when it comes to these tyrants and these corporations. I don't care what media you're talking about. They're all corporations and they do not have our best interests in mind. They want to stoke the fires for their clickbait, for their hot topic story, so that they can get the eyes and views. This is a people versus government issue. I love you all. Peace and blessings. Love God with all your heart. And love your neighbor as yourself. Rest in peace to everyone we lost. Love you.